Hey everyone, CW Music Reviews here. I'm CWD, and this is going to be a music review of the new The XX album, I See You. This is the latest and third full-length album of indie pop, indie rock trio The XX. Can't say I've been interested in what The XX have done in the past. I've only heard maybe a few songs that were on the past couple of albums, so I never really was that invested in the past two albums, and quite honestly, I had no anticipation for this album whatsoever. The XX, to me, from the singles I've listened to, from the songs I've listened to, they were just way too subtle, way too intimate, way too laid back for me to actually listen to and enjoy thoroughly. There just wasn't enough in terms of viscera or stylistic intrigue to what it is they were doing for me. But since they had a new album coming out after about 4 to 5 years, I thought maybe they have changed their sound to a certain degree, because their producer slash percussionist, Jamie XX, he's been pretty busy as of late. When he dropped his debut solo album, In Color, that album was really good. It was a nice, driven, and really colorful house project that you definitely should check out if you have not listened to. So I thought to myself, maybe elements of this would end up in the new album. Maybe they would have transformed into a more vibrant and more engaging band than previously. Although to my detriment, I can't say that I listened to a full album. Maybe this new album would have me inclined to give their previous efforts a new fresh ears, you know, to actually try those out, because a lot of people seem to have given those projects a lot of acclaim for one reason or another. So I've heard this new album. Is it good? Yes, it is good. It's actually really good. It's not fantastic per se. There's still quite a bit of work to be done with this style of music that the XX are trying to go for, this evolution, this stylistic shift that they're going into. But I'm definitely impressed with this album in particular. This album's about 10 tracks in length. It's 39 minutes long, so it's an okay length. It doesn't feel like it's dragging, nor does it feel like it's understaying its welcome. I do wish that maybe it was a little longer. I do wish that there was maybe some more tracks added to it. In particular, tracks that are in the same vein as some of the tracks here already that go into a more house-driven vein. Take the track Dangerous, for example. It's got these horns that come up in the beginning that for whatever reason sound better on speaker than they do on headphones. And I love this bass groove that's on this track a lot. There's quite a bit of house-driven beats on this cut, as well as some, I guess, hand clapping of some kind, or maybe some kind of alternate percussive effect that I enjoy a lot. And on the hook of this track, these horns come back in, and I just love how triplet they sound. Or the track On Hold, which is actually the most overtly dance-driven track on the whole record. It's got a somber and subtle start to it before it really builds and really does explode quite particularly well. It's not like a big EDM drop or anything like that, but I do like the tension that it builds up to the chorus as it goes from somber verse to really emotionally climactic chorus. I do like that quite a bit. Along with the track I Dare You, which not really a favorite track of mine, but I do admire once again the In Color-esque influence that Jamie XX brings to this album with this track. There actually are some tracks that could have gone a little harder in my opinion, like the track A Violent Noise, which not really violent in any shape or form, this noise that goes on. Although I do like the bright and sputtering little synth hits that come up. It kind of reminds me of like an Arca track. I just really wish that there was more tension and more explosion and more dynamic to this track in particular. So these tracks are a welcome change of pace for the XX. I definitely enjoy them quite a bit. But what I really admire about this album is that it's not just straight up dance driven house music or whatever. It's the XX still being the XX, just incorporating the little nuances of what Jamie XX was doing with his debut album. Tracks like Lips and Say Something Loving, they're still pretty subtle, they're still pretty intimate in a way. The former of which, Say Something Loving, it definitely incorporates these nice chords that add a lot of layer and kind of bring a dream pop vibe to it, while simultaneously the beats that Jamie XX brings to the table, they definitely add something pretty driving, pretty emotionally potent in a way. Especially it being a track about being deprived of affection so long that you just forget what it feels like and you demand or really want your lover to really remind you of what that is. I thought that was a really cool sentiment. The track Lips, yeah, it's pretty subtle, it's pretty intimate. On that note, it's actually probably the most sensual track on the album, especially with Romy talking about this encounter, her name on this person's lips, the breath of this other person inside the lungs as she's drowning in oxygen. That's not necessarily how that works, but okay. But I do like how subtle and kinda tropical the beats are on this track. It definitely is a particularly good track there. I also like the track Replica that, again, reflects this balance of subtlety and intimacy with driving and particularly interesting beats and percussion that Jamie XX brings. I think the band being so self-aware of how commercially and critically successful In Color was really did open up a whole avenue of experimentation to the sound that the XX have curated. Yeah, it's not like overtly experimental, it's not like some whacked out, really over-the-top shit or anything like that. It's just a lot of subtle tweaks that are put into this particular album that I really do like a lot. Especially with Replica, how there's like some subtle, I want to say steel drum incorporated in the background of the track that I like a lot. And the track Brave For You, this isn't just one of the better ballads on the whole album, but actually probably my favorite track on the record. It's got these keys or some kind of synth or organ going in like a staccato nature. Romy sings quite fantastically over this instrumental. I've heard rumors that it's about the loss of her parents and how she is trying to be brave for them, even if she's just absolutely frightened of a prospect like that. But I think the lyrics here aren't so direct and so specific that it could definitely be general and apply to a lot of people, whether that's about your dead parents or someone you lost or someone that is really important to you but you can't see them right now or something of that nature. For whatever reason, this track gives me a strong Sigur Rós vibe or something, even with how kind of bright and not as long or progressive as a Sigur Rós track would be. This definitely has quite a bit of tension and build to it, and it definitely creates a nice dramatic atmosphere. The track Performance, again, not really one of the more experimental moments for the XX, although I do like the off-kilter string that comes up on this track. It really does sound like a solo ballad torch song for Romy. And the closing track also being another ballad, and I didn't really care for it all that much on initial listens, but after giving it a few more listens, it's grown on me quite a bit and definitely makes sense as a closer. It's got all these really somber horn worked in the background as the duo, and maybe even the trio, are singing in like this group vocals about testing the limits of another individual in a relationship. Go ahead and hurt this individual or go ahead and be hurt by this individual, and let's see if they end up staying or you end up staying. I think that's particularly interesting. The track On Hold has a similar lyrical sentiment. There's quite a bit of that in terms of lyricism all over this album, about love, loss, some kind of depression. I think the track Replica actually goes in kind of a nihilistic kind of standpoint, how in the end you'll become nothing but a replica of something else, and all these mistakes you make are purely just the chemistry of your biology at work. The track Performance being about feeling so much pain and so much anguish, but still trying to hide all of it away in some kind of performance. How inside you're still hurting and all that, but on the outside you just seem not just fine, but flourishing. And the thing about this album is the production that Jamie brings to the project, it really puts the vocals really up front and center of everything else. And that's fine, especially if the vocalists, both Oliver and Romy, are going to be this good of singers, are going to demonstrate this level of chemistry, and are going to bring lyrics that, while not that poetic, not like overtly fantastic or anything of that nature, definitely adds to the subtlety, definitely adds to the intimacy of the XX's signature sound, along with still not playing second fiddle to the extra amounts of instrumentation that Jamie is adding. This definitely was a surprise for me. I myself never really considered myself an XX fan. I had no interest in any of the songs beforehand that I listened to in the past, but giving this thing a try, giving this thing numerous tries, I just can't help but like this album quite a bit. There's still room for improvement on this album. There's still room for improvement for the XX in terms of this new direction they're going in. But as far as that goes, props to them, because they definitely have delivered upon, to fans both of the XX as well as fans of music in general, a particularly good and solid album. There are some tracks that I wish were fleshed out a little more, like the tracks Violent Noise, I Dare You, and to an extent maybe Test Me in performance, but still, there's not a lot I can complain about. If you're a fan of indie pop, if you're a fan of dream pop, indie rock, then you're definitely going to want to give this a few tries, because this is definitely up your alley if you're looking for something subtle, intimate, if you're looking for something to kind of like chill out to, but not so chilled out that you lose interest in what's going on. There's definitely quite a bit of nuance to the production and the instrumentation that is definitely going to keep you engaged and is definitely going to have you wondering what the XX might do next. This album is a plus 2.2 out of plus 3. I took this thing quite a bit. It's not going to be my favorite album of the month, nor is it going to be like the album of the year or anything like that, but I'm definitely into a good bit of the direction that the XX are going into, and I'm definitely going to give their back catalog a better chance than I did previously. But if you give this album a listen, what'd you think of it? Did you like this album? Did you dislike this album? What was your reason for that, and what should I consider listening to and reviewing next? This is CWD Music Reviews here, signing off.